Hello everyone, Carson here, and in today's video I'm going to be telling you if you can host your own web server on your own home computer and home internet connection. Now before we get into this video, if you want to check out more information about this, go down to the link in the description, and you can also receive special discounts if you choose not to host your own web server and instead buy a hosting plan from a hosting company. Alright, so let's get into the video. Now the first thing we need to cover is what a web server is. Now a web server essentially means that you are hosting your own website on your home computer, which means all the traffic going from your website to your customers, all of the data is going through your own internet connection. So let's go ahead and cover this and rule out all the things which aren't going to let you host your own web server on your computer, because there's quite a few different things which will probably make you not want to host your web server on your own computer and your own internet connection. So let's go ahead and run through those now. Now the first thing you need, undoubtedly, is unlimited, non-throttled bandwidth. Because if you're running a web server on your internet connection, people are going to be accessing the websites you host on that server. And if people are accessing it, well, that takes up some of your data. So the thing you need to consider, the thing you need to take into consideration is how many people are going to be visiting your website and if that traffic is going to be too much for your connection. I highly recommend only even considering running your own web server if it's on a truly unlimited and high-speed internet plan. Now the next thing you do need to consider is that it's probably a violation of your terms of service to even run a web server in the first place. A lot of internet service providers won't let people run web servers on their internet service. Because of this, if you are even considering this, you first have to check with your internet service provider to see if they allow web servers to run over their internet. Otherwise, you're going to be faced with no internet and no web server, which I definitely don't recommend. Now the final and probably the biggest reason you don't want to host your own web server is because, quite frankly, it's pretty advanced and you do need to know quite a bit about computers and all that technology stuff before you attempt to run your own web server. So unless you're an IT technician or someone who is very interested in technology, I have to say I don't really recommend running your own web server. I just go with a hosting plan somewhere like Bluehost or Hostinger to make it easier for you, because trying to run your web server is going to take a lot of your time in developing, understanding, and maintaining that service, and it's just going to be overall pretty complicated. Now another problem is that many ISPs or internet service providers don't offer static IP addresses, which is something you will need if you're going to be hosting your website on your own custom server. So all of these things you have to check about and you have to understand before you go into potentially hosting your own web server on your home internet connection. Now if you got past all of those things and you decided you still want to host a web server, you have to look at the pros and cons of hosting a web server for yourself. Now one of the pros actually, and one reason I would recommend someone try a web server or try to host a web server, is if they actually want to learn about IT or are interested in learning more about computers or just want to do it as a hobby. You see, it is a very good way to learn how to build a web server because, you know, learning through application is definitely a use and is definitely something people can do. So if you are interested in that, that's one reason to host your own web server. Other than that though, there aren't too many more reasons. You see, when you have one web server, when you have one data center essentially, the latency can get pretty bad anywhere outside of like your hometown or areas remotely close to where you live. Because of this, if you're running your own web server and you're actually trying to use it as a legitimate service and to provide a legitimate service to your website, it's not going to be as good as even some of the cheapest plans from places like Hostinger. Even at 99 cents a month, they can probably provide a better latency than you could on your home server. The reason being is because they have access to multiple data centers over a wide range of areas, whereas you only have access to one singular data center in your hometown. So running your own web server can definitely be fun and challenging and a very good experience. if you are getting into IT work, or if you just want to have fun and do it as a hobby, it's something you can definitely try. It's similar at this point to something like ham radio, in the way that only enthusiasts use it. You're not going to be using it as a legitimate option for your business or an actual way to provide website hosting for your website. If you want to look at the options that are most cost effective, you're gonna have to be looking at websites like Hostinger or Bluehost or any other hosting company on the market. Because consider this, if you buy a web server, you need your own computer, you need a fast internet connection, you need a static IP address, and you need very high uptime. But if you buy, let's say, a plan from Hostinger, you need 99 cents a month. Now, unless you can buy all of that stuff for 99 cents a month and still provide a better or equal service as Hostinger does, you definitely don't want to go for it. And the odds are that you're not going to be able to do that. Places like Hostinger, places like Bluehost, places like A2, all of these web hosting services, they offer very high speeds at very cheap prices. And just to recap, since that's the goal of most hosters, I actually don't recommend you trying to buy your own web server or trying to use your own web server in hosting your own website. Because if you do that, it's just going to end up causing you more harm than good, and it's going to be quite a bit of trouble. If you want to learn how to web host for the sake of learning, you can do that, but I only suggest doing it for the sake of learning, not actually for anything else. You should look at it very similarly to any other hobby you might get into. Very fun, very challenging, but not very practical. Overall, it's not a good idea, so if you are looking to host your own web server to actually run a business off of, I would definitely have to say to pass on that one. Well, thank you for watching. If you do have any questions about this, let me know in the comments, and I'll be sure to respond and kind of explain to you more details and help you understand the answers to any questions you have. Also, just a reminder that I do have a link in the description if you want to view more details about this and receive special discounts if you decide not to buy your own web server and instead go with a web hosting company. Well, thank you for watching. Till next time, and have a great day.